All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into the future of tech. I mean, are we on the verge of some golden age of amazing breakthroughs? Or is it just a minefield of hype and, potential danger?
It feels like every single day we're just bombarded with these wild visions of what's coming next, right? On one side, you have these incredible promises of a better world. And on the other, well, some pretty unsettling warnings about where all this is really headed. So you get these two totally different stories. One perspective says, hey, you've got a front row seat to the future being made. But then another one feels a lot more like it's one hell of a time to be alive and you're just kind of hanging on for dear life. So which one is it? Are we looking at a future packed with incredible promise? Or is it just going to be one big headache full of hype? All right, let's get into it. Okay, first up, let's talk about the good stuff, the breakthroughs. You know, those moments of incredible potential that really give us a glimpse of a better world. And we're going to start big, like really big. We're talking about the cosmos itself.
95%. That is how much of our entire universe is made of stuff we can't see. Dark matter and dark energy. We know it's there, it's the glue holding galaxies together, but what is it? We honestly have almost no idea. It's one of the biggest mysteries in all of science, for sure.
So how do you solve a mystery that big?
Well, you build a giant new eye in the Chilean desert. This is the Vera Rubin Observatory, and it has the largest digital camera ever built. I'm talking the size of a small car. For the next 10 years, it's just going to take pictures of the entire southern sky, over and over again. What we'll get is basically a movie of our universe, showing us how it all evolved and, get this, discovering billions of new stars and galaxies we never even knew were out there. Just wow.
Okay, let's bring it back down to Earth for a minute, because a breakthrough in medicine just delivered a result you almost never hear. 100%. 100% effectiveness in a massive trial with over 5,000 women in Uganda and South Africa. So what are we talking about? It's a drug called lenacapavir, and it was 100% effective at preventing HIV infection. But here's the really revolutionary part. It's an injection you only need once every 6 months. Think about that. No daily pills. This could be an absolute game changer for global health. It just removes so many barriers and could protect millions of people in a way that was never possible before.
And this kind of progress, it's happening all over the place, especially when tech gets aimed at our planet's biggest problems. You've got a new plant in Sweden making green steel with zero emissions, tackling an industry that's a huge source of CO2. Then there's stuff like supplements that cut down on methane from cow burps, which sounds funny, but it's a massive deal for greenhouse gases. And in medicine, after decades of just hearing about the promise of stem cells, they're finally getting real results, like helping type 1 diabetes patients make their own insulin again. It's just incredible stuff.
Okay, but. And there's always a but, right? For every amazing breakthrough, there's this other story, one that's full of hype and headaches and a big dose of reality. So now let's flip the coin and look at that side of things.
And you don't have to look any further than AI, of course. We keep hearing that these new models can reason just like humans, that they're going to completely change white-collar jobs. But then you look at the reality on the ground, and they still fail at really simple logic puzzles a kid could solve. There was this huge demo, supposed to be the dawn of AGI, and what did it do? It built well, let's be honest, a pretty crappy Python app. The hype is still just miles and miles ahead of what it can actually do.
So now the next big thing everyone's talking about is AI agents. The vision here is pretty wild. It's an AI that has access to your digital life and just handles things. It manages your calendar, books your travel, runs complicated business reports, all by itself. You literally don't have to lift a finger.
But some critics are already calling it out. They're saying it's just the newest buzzword for corporate sales teams. The suspicion is that it's less about actually giving us a revolutionary new tool and more about finding the next way for companies to pump up their stock prices by slapping an AI label on something.
And what's really interesting is how all this AI hype is just not matching up with the job market. You'd think there'd be this massive hiring boom, right? But nope. Open tech jobs are still down more than 50% from where they were at their peak in 2022. For right now, all that excitement just isn't turning into actual jobs.
So, here's the key takeaway, really. The future isn't a simple choice between promise or peril. It's both, and they're happening at the exact same time. It's complicated.
Humanoid robots are a perfect example of this. On one hand, they could be this incredible solution for labor shortages. You've got companies like BMW and Amazon already putting them to work in factories and warehouses to fill those really critical gaps and do the tough, repetitive jobs. But then, on the other hand, if you look at how these exact same robots are being marketed, it's all about replacing human workers. They are being sold explicitly as a way to automate jobs away, everything from the factory floor to a programmer's desk. And that, understandably, creates a ton of anxiety about the future of work. And maybe there's no better or maybe no weirder example of this duality than brain-computer interfaces. We are already seeing patients with paralysis who can now control computers just by thinking. This isn't science fiction anymore. It is a life-altering breakthrough, and it's happening right now. And yet, the whole idea raises some really profound, kind of unsettling questions, doesn't it? As these chips start moving out of the lab and into the real world, we have to ask ourselves, how do we feel about technology that is literally inside our heads? What does that mean for our privacy, for our autonomy, for what it even means to be human?
So how in the world are we supposed to navigate this constant back and forth between promise and peril? Well, I think just understanding that both things are true at the same time, that's the absolute first step if we want to have any say in shaping the future we actually want to live in.
You can actually see this pattern play out. Let's call it the innovation cycle. And it feels like it's speeding up. First, you get the breakthrough, right? Like brain-computer interfaces. That's immediately met with both hype and skepticism, just like we see with AI agents. Then it starts to settle into a messy reality, with both good and bad consequences, like the humanoid robots. And that forces all of us into the last stage, adaptation. We just have to figure out how to live in this new world that's been created.
Because at the end of the day, the technology itself, it's neutral. A robot isn't born good or evil. An AI isn't inherently helpful or harmful. Its impact, the real test, comes down to the choices we make, how we decide to build it, who we build it for, and, crucially, what kind of rules we decide to put around it.
So, as we're all standing here right on the edge of this completely wild new era, the biggest question isn't really about what the tech can do. The question is, who gets to hold the pen? Technology is writing our future. The real conversation, the one that matters most, is about who gets to decide what that story says.